Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green and our golf DFS show. My name is Mike. No Jordan, no Kyle. This for the first time ever, we have a guest host with some insider knowledge that's going to help us with the RSM Classic this week. So I'm welcoming listener 90 Degree Rule, also my brother Kevin, from the RTG Collective to join me for this episode. Kevin, how you doing?
Good. Happy to be here. Happy to, film some pretty small shoes. But
I tried to get those guys to make some exceptions because they'd want to come and hammer on you a little bit, and you took the first shot, so that's awesome.
I mean, whether Jordan's actually sick or not, or he's like reeling from betting the over on some like mid-major basketball game over the weekend. Who knows?
I actually have a thought on college basketball. This is off script. I was just watching the Michigan State Kentucky game just before recording. Were you watching this?
No.
Okay, help me understand how this can happen. How can Kentucky give up 2 game-tying dunks, one at the end of regulation, one at the end of the first overtime, with less than 4 seconds to go? Dunks, like massive defensive breakdown.
Yeah, that's a little nuts.
That's what you get when you have 5 freshmen playing that never played together before.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to the big leagues, right?
Yeah. Well, anyways, so okay. You're here because you got inside knowledge on the RSM Classic and you're going to be there.
Yeah. Inside knowledge, I guess. Yeah, my wife works for RSM, has her job is a lot to do with the Classic and with their golf sponsorships, endorsements, player appearances, all that. So she's been down there for almost a week now, getting everything set up, schmoozing with all the big names around it, and luckily I get to head down there and be a part of it. So
this is your first time? I feel like you went to like a party one year, but have you been to the tournament?
Yeah, so I've been twice.
Okay.
This will be number 3. Really, yeah, I mean, it's a couple years ago, the first 2 times, really just kind of hung out and enjoyed free drinks in the chalet. But this year, actually more excited to kind of like walk the course, follow some guys around because I really haven't done that in the past. So it should be fun.
Yeah, well, we'll get to. I'll definitely want. I know you got some takes on the 2 courses, and so we haven't had like a 2-course event in a while, so we'll get to that. Before we get into the Houston Open, there was an announcement today that the PGA Tour is now going to give some exemptions directly to college kids. And so it's like if you finish as the top ranked college golfer any given year, you're fully exempt on the PGA Tour the next year. And then there's some like weird qualifying process that seems like every 3 years they'll give an exemption to someone who had a great season. I don't know. Do you think this is like they're trying to compete with Liv on the young guys?
I think they're trying to save. Yeah, I think they're trying to save guys. So, right, you're going to get guys who are standouts in NCAA and like
like Eugenio Chikara that left and then he won like $4 million right away.
Or like I think we talked about it right before this, but like Andy Ogletree, like, oh, this guy's just tearing it up. He's going to be get on the tour and probably do pretty well. And all of a sudden he's like, well, I'm just going to go take the bag and hang out in the Middle East.
Yeah, well, then he just gets like eschewed from the tour, though, and now we have no idea where he is. And I think he's still like trying to sue the PGA Tour. Yeah, no, we should be concerned. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, no one really pays attention to college golf, so like, I still think these guys are gonna like the guys that have those seasons are still gonna end up being great. But I guess it's maybe a reason for a guy to stick around and not jump for a big check.
For sure.
So I saw you were drinking a beer. What do you got tonight?
Yes. Well, I finally invested in a beer fridge in the basement. So I have Strange Claw out of Cerebral Brewing in Denver, Colorado. Brought a haul back about a month ago, 2 months ago. Finally starting to get through it. It's a hazy Citra Columbus. It's pretty good.
That's usually not the haul that people bring back from Denver to Minnesota.
No, definitely not. But I had to throw away half my suitcase just to pack the beer in it.
I have Spirit Foul from Fair State. a very solid hazy IPA that comes out once a year this time of year, and so I bought 2 4-packs because I knew it would go quick. So good stuff. All right, so Houston Open, we were joking. Neither of us have been watching a lot of golf lately. It's hard to watch golf because it's never on TV. This event's weird. I don't know, like if you don't pay attention to it round by round, you'll notice that the play is suspended before the completion of each round on both Thursday and Friday. Every year this happens. And it's because it's so dark. And I don't know if it's like where Houston is in the time zone, like in the central time zone, because like wouldn't the RSM Classic have this issue? Or maybe where it is, like they have an extra hour of daylight or something.
Yeah, I can't remember. I actually haven't stayed late on like Sunday, or like usually like don't stay like super late into the rounds. Maybe that'll change this year, but yeah, I mean this time of year is weird. Definitely in the United States. Like
Yeah, it's hard
it
to
starts
get
getting
like
dark pretty early.
yeah, if it's getting dark, at least in, we're pretty much like straight north of Houston here in Minneapolis. And so, you get if it's dark by like 4:30, 5 o'clock, or that's when the sun's going down, like it's hard to get 150 golfers out on the golf course. So
Yeah, I mean, glow balls and stadium lights. Let's go.
well, and I don't know, did that contribute to there were 8 WDs? And so I don't know if guys are just like, I didn't finish my round. I don't really want to get up at 6 in the morning and play like 27 holes tomorrow. So I'm just out.
Yeah, probably. Or if they were like playing like shit, like I can make the weekend. Like, why am I going to do this?
Okay, well here's how about this? Did you see this thing on Mark Hubbard? What Mark Hubbard did?
Well, I think that's where it's coming from. I like caught the glimpse of it. I think that's why it was in the back of my head. Like,
So he was nowhere close, right,
Yeah.
to the cut.
This
so
is
he
like
grabbed-
the fifth or like 16 clubs in his bag.
Yeah,
And he was
15.
just,
He
like,
grabbed a second driver at the turn, and he was
hitting
like,
stuff, like working stuff out on the first or the 10th tee.
yes, I was seeing on Twitter people that were there were saying he was literally hitting the ball like 60 yards sideways, which I know you're, very familiar with.
Hey,
and
there's no pictures on the scorecard. Right?
Well, there weren't any on his either. Actually, no, there are actually on his scorecard. But yeah, he just was like, yeah, I'm gonna work on stuff, and he just grabbed a second driver. And it's interesting that they DQ'd him versus giving him an 18-stroke penalty for just playing 9 holes with an extra club, which is, I think, what you would get if you inadvertently did it. But I think because it was intentional, they just said, get out of here.
Can you carry it and not use it?
Or yeah, you can declare it out of play. So if you were to stand on the first tee and be like, this is in my bag, and you can do, you're kind of lame if you do this in your weekend round, but like, you can do that.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure
so
you run into guys who do that all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, not lately. I don't really play golf anymore, so yeah. And although Jordan and Kyle will say I still play too much, enough to beat them in the Invitational. But
there's other reasons for that.
Yeah. All right. So but Tony Finau wins going away. Like it wasn't even a contest. You kind of forgot about him and like how good he was in July and August, and then he like still has been on a heater.
Yeah, I don't know. I think these kinds of tournaments are really good for him. Not that he's like struggled in, well, not struggled, but like majors hasn't really been up there. Like these fields are a little bit weaker, but like
he
can really
asserts himself.
He can really go like showcase like, yeah, I have this stuff, and like if I go and shoot a couple low 60s, like this thing's over.
Yeah, well, that's what happened essentially. And my guy Ben Taylor, I was all over Ben Taylor in the name game. I had a ton of him. I was definitely overweight on Ben Taylor, $6,500. Not enough firepower to keep up with Tony. And then what is this thing called Tyson Alexander that actually finished it in second? I don't know.
What?
Yeah,
Definitely. I don't know.
He could have been. I might have to look that up where he came from, but. Yeah, so we did have our listener league. Jordan, who's not here to talk about his win. We've been trying to figure out why RTG hosts have been so bad in the listener league, but Jordan gets the win, followed by Buke 0215 and then Arano M2 with another top 3. I feel like that's 4 or 5 weeks in a row. Overall, this was, I think, between Kyle and I, wasn't a great week. It wasn't terrible. Ben Taylor has certainly helped me in some of my bigger tournament entries. But with another WD, Brendan Steele WDs, he goes 6 over on the first 5 holes on Sunday, and then WDs. And so it's
Yeah.
like that kid, I had him in 2 big cash lineups, and it just like this stuff is just an epidemic.
Yeah, I think it's like this time of year, right? If I don't go out and go low, like I don't care anymore. Like I'll take the weekend,
Well,
right?
is that
Go back
your
home.
is and I know we're going to talk about Tony a little bit later, but obviously he's not in the field at the RSM. Is that kind of the deal? Like he got his win here, and he's just like,
Right.
I don't need
Well,
to play.
this has always been the like stack your FedEx Cups points
Hmm.
time, right? Remember, I don't know how long ago that was. Jimmy Walker won like 4 tournaments and just
Hmm.
like coasted through the rest of the season into the next year. And so it's like guys are, bigger names might come out to try to get a win. And if they do, they'll just go away until, you know, century and see in Hawaii.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about it like that. Like they can load up their schedule, but then all they need is one, and that makes it easier for them to take like a true off season. And and for the other guy, because we talked about this a few weeks ago about how we're surprised that more of like the up and comers don't just play all of these events to get as many points as they can. But maybe that's what we're seeing, and maybe those guys like Tony is just like, I got what I needed. I'm seeing January. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all going to change with the whole
Yeah.
uprooting of the PGA Tour schedule and all the. I mean, right? They want to make the fall matter. So
Yeah, because isn't this where they're gonna slot like some of the big events, and it's gonna force those guys to play like 3 events in the fall?
yeah, which kind of sucks for tournaments like this where they're going to slot like a $50 million purse tournament
Yeah.
before this, and everyone's going to play, and then no one's going to play the next week.
So that's what we talk about with like the 3M as locals, and I don't have the connection to the RSM like you do, but like same deal though. It's like, is that tournament ever gonna mean anything? And the
I mean,
like
it means a lot to St. Simon's Island, and
But that's the
like
point, is that, but if it doesn't mean something to the PGA Tour, you start to like siphon off that benefit for the
yeah,
community. And so how does the PGA Tour still like at least every 3 years or so make these events matter, like the 3M or the John Deere or whatever?
yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I can't imagine they're just going to let these things just like wither, but I don't know. This time of year is tough, and if you are, like you said, that you have a community in St. Simon's that like has this tournament benefits so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's tourism, restaurants, shops, everything. Like I was joking, my wife was going through the merch tent, and like there was a hat. It was like, oh, I like that one. It's like just says like the RSM, and
Mm.
like even you call it the RSM, right? She's like, well, no, like only locals call it that. Like so,
Oh, really?
like they know about it. Like it's a local thing. Like they get up for it. Like
Yeah.
it draws a big
Kind of
crowd
puts their city on display.
for sure.
All right. Well, so yeah, so Tony Finau did win back at the Houston Open, did win -16. Our top article contributor of the week, Jeff Ulrich, Finau, Woodland, and the Gala. Gary Woodland actually flashed for a little bit, and I don't know what's going on with him, but he does set up well for some courses, tough courses, long courses. So I had a bunch of him too this week. The landmines for us though were Sam Burns and Dean Burmeister. I thought Dean Burmeister was a lock on a setup like this. Burns is probably the same deal though we're just talking about. Starts
Yeah,
out +8 after I think on his front 9, and he's just kind of like, I don't need this.
yeah. I mean, find me on Saturday, 16 beers deep watching college football instead
Yeah.
of being +10 or something like that. So
It is a lot though to just assume that they're going to show up in back to this point. They just assume they're just going to show up in January, February and just roll. Like there's no guarantees.
yeah, exactly.
But anyways, I get it. It's a tough time of year. It's almost the holidays. It's hard for these guys. It's hard for any of us that work to grind, you know.
Yeah. I mean, right
Uh
after what is it? After like Halloween, it's like um just my out of office is just always on.
yeah.
Like
I feel like productivity just goes way down, but I also say the same thing like in the spring when like, there's all these golf tournaments and like the summer start, it's just productivity just down in general. That's another
yeah.
podcast, another topic. Um, all right, let's talk about the RSM Classic then. So I'll tee it up, but you give me the nuggets. So Sea Island Resort, St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Last year we get Taylor Gooch. Is he? Can you say
Ooh,
that name
no,
in St. Simon's anymore?
no, you cannot. I don't think he's allowed on the island.
What did
Maybe in the
Davis
state of
do?
Georgia.
What did Davis do with his
There might like there legit might not be any reference to his name or his likeness, like in the state of Georgia.
just like
Like,
cleaned it out?
yeah, he's a no one, right? He might still be sitting in his car with well,
Yeah,
who
who
was
was
it?
that? Was it
Hudson
like
Swafford,
yeah.
right? Those two guys, like they might be sitting on like the Georgia South Carolina border, just like waiting to get into the state.
Man, yeah, okay. So that guy, we had two back to Kokrak won last week, last year at the Houston. So we have Taylor Gooch more specifically erased from the state of Georgia. But we get we've got it kind of dwindling field strength. So we got top 6 of the top 50 in the world playing this week, but it is full field, top 65 in ties. All right, so the courses. You were kind of telling me this early this summer. So you got 2 courses.
Yeah.
Tell me how they're different and what to look. They're both about the same length, but they're played
Yeah, I
pretty
think
different.
play different, definitely different styles. So Seaside, I think is the premier course, like their postcard course. That's link style, very similar to like Pinehurst with less trees. So a lot of like fescue, sandy areas, but also like right on the ocean.
Hmm. So
So
maybe like a Kiowa or something like that.
yeah, I
Or
guess like yeah, Kiowa. I mean the whole island very similar to like Hilton Head. So I
okay.
mean that kind of vibe. So you can get some wind, but so short game matters. I think a lot more on Seaside. Plantation, interesting name. We'll go that we'll go down that road. But that's a more traditional setup.
Okay.
Probably more trees,
Inland.
inland. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, definitely the inland course. I mean, definitely a lot of water, like lot of hazard, a lot of bunkering. From what I've seen, like massive greens,
Okay.
and maybe a couple like not funky ones, but like I think there's like a punch bowl green and a couple greens with some like big knobs in the middle. So probably plays a little bit more traditional. Um, Short game probably doesn't matter as much, but I think you have to be accurate for sure.
The this ends up being a birdie fest, I assume, like 20 under ish is gonna win.
Yeah, probably. And the interesting thing, I mean, it's a two course setup, right? So you Thursday, Friday you swap. So I don't
Hmm.
know if that plays into anything. I mean, you want to pair that with like
Well, it
weather or
does
AM, PM, all that kind of thing.
because I think the wind in general is supposed to be up on Friday morning. Seems like it's going to be the windiest time. So I guess you would then say, okay, well, I'm either going to go AM, PM and just try to avoid the wind period, or I
Yep.
want to avoid the guys playing Seaside on Friday.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's always kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, you can chase the weather and then it can just totally flip. But so I assume from a stats standpoint, strategy wise, when you have short courses like this, you're going to have to put a lot of emphasis on short iron play. Your strokes gained approach metrics are going to be really important. But then guys that have a lot of upside putting, or I'm guessing on the plantation course, if you have really big greens, you want 3-putt avoidance metrics as well because you're going to have a lot of long putts.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Yeah. I think the strong place too, like this is I wouldn't say like a PJ Tour pro haven, but there's a lot of guys
Hmm.
that live on the island that train or I guess belong, to Sea Island. So
Yeah.
a lot of guys comfortable around there. So those would be strong plays too. And there's a lot of guys you would probably play anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure those are the guys getting a lot of love this week. I think I found some more. Incidentally, we'll get to that in a second, but um, yeah, you're right. I think those are the guys who are going to get a lot of the love this week, regardless. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run through, as we do every week. Usually Kyle does this, and Kyle's usually the one with all the nuggets and all the deep stats, which we're not bringing this week because it's not the kind of prep I did. But um, our model looks like this. we'll go kind of the top 6 plays here, although Finau was one of them, throw them out. So top 5 plays, Brian Harman and Matthew Neesmith getting 50% of the love right now on Tuesday evening. And, I guess Brian Harman to me seems like somebody that would fit this. You want a guy that's going to be in play, hit a lot of greens, doesn't need a ton of length. The courses are 7,000 yards.
I agree.
But paying $10,300 for Brian Harman is like is insane.
Yeah, I mean, seems to be also a Sea Island guy. So again, he's probably the one getting the most, right? But I think it does fit him, right? He's usually not all over the place. Pretty accurate, decent putter. So
there we go. So Brian Harman, Matthew Neesmith, and then the next 3 guys at 41% of our mentioned share: Aaron Rye, Andrew Putnam, and my guy,
Tommy
Tables, or last 2 weeks ago, Tommy Trashcan, Tom Hoagie. Tom, I mean, again, Tom probably, he fits this course well. He's got some good course history here, but a guy that can get it in play and can have really good putting weeks, that's what you want. Aaron Rye, I'm not so sure, and he's flashed a couple of times. Maybe the thought is if some weather rolls in, he can wear 2 gloves effectively.
Yeah. I mean, I like your boy Hoagie. Again, right, usually pretty solid, fine fairways, pretty easy setup for this course, But if golf doesn't work out, he kind of seems like a guy that might work for RSM. So, do your taxes next year.
I think you nailed it. So here's a few other plays I have in mind. Here's the problem, though, is I feel like the 9K range in DK salary is really tough, especially you throw Tony Finau out. So now you take a ton of ownership that would have gone towards Finau at 11,200. You're going to spread that out among what is probably a loaded 9K range. So Neesmith at 9K and Tom Hoagie at 9,800. We talk about those 2 guys. But then also Bermuda specialist Denny McCarthy, he's been playing pretty good, and he just sets up really well on courses like this. He's at 25% mention share right now, but 9,100. And the other guy that I think sets up pretty well, Joel Damon, 9,200. And so it's just tough. There's a lot of guys here that's like, I can play 2 of those guys, but I can't play 4. And that's what I'm going to have to try to sort through, try to find some differentiation. But I like Damon and McCarthy on this setup. And then I'll throw one other guy out there if you're looking for some relief. Ben Griffin, 7,300. He's been really good off the tee this year, and he's been really good on approach. He did flash, I think, 2 weeks ago. So I think he would be a good spot for a little bit of a price break. All right, I assume you are going only RSM/Sea Island guys this week. So from your player pool, who legit has a chance?
I mean, yeah, there's probably going to be a couple lineups. And I think I did a Sea Island one. I don't know for what reason, somewhere along the lines, and it did not play out well. So this probably sets up better for that. But, guys that Sea Island guys, I mean, I don't know, JT Poston, the postman, stands out. I think he's usually around in the mix. Patton Kazire. I watched him on one of my trips there. I watched him dunk one from the fairway from the Golf Channel production truck. So that was pretty cool.
He doesn't seem like he's got a lot going on upstairs when I've seen him in person.
I think he throws in a double horseshoe and just kind of coasts through the round. It seems like that's kind of his style. But yeah, again, I think the Sea Island guys, if you know who they are probably solid bets, kind of in the middle of your lineups. A couple guys in the 7,000 range, 7,500. So you can kind of get guys that are comfortable at the bottom of your lineups. Another guy like Kisner. One Georgia boy, so loves playing in the state, loves playing this tournament, whether it's relationships with Zach Johnson or DL3, who knows? He's won at least once, I believe.
I think 2015. It was a while ago, but I think
yeah,
and has 4 top 10s also.
Yeah, a guy that's just super comfortable, right? This is probably just kind of his fall, keep the swing going, but it feels good to him. So I would look to play Kisner. I put down your boy Hoagie. So yeah, I think he's ups and downs. Obviously, hot start last year kind of cooled the Jets, popped up every now and then, but again, this just seems like a tournament that fits him.
Yeah,
Just kind
he's
of
played
all
well
around.
and plays well in these types of courses, so I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised. He did miss the cut on the number 2 weeks ago, which was frustrating as one of our top plays, but probably a good spot. Maybe get some ownership break there.
Yeah, and I probably would have gone Finau, but
Yeah.
he's obviously got better things going on.
Rick Gaiman, who obviously prominent DFS professional, he has hard fade last 2 years on Kevin Kisner, which was a whiff in 21, right? Didn't Kisner finish second to Streb, or was that 2 years ago? No, because Gooch won last year, so that was 2 years
Gooch won
ago.
last year. Yeah, Seb was or not. That's a Streb was 20.
2020. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yes, they did have the tournament in 2020. Yeah.
So, and so I don't know. Kisner has not been playing well. President's Cup, he was an afterthought. But if that home cooking, it might work out.
Home cooking. The dogs are number one. Like, let's go.
Well, we'll get to the Georgia connection here in a second. I want to talk about tiers really quick. I would Kyle's usually our tiers expert. I'd love to highlight tier 6. This is a joke, because the only player that we've modeled in tier 6 is Zach Johnson, who feels like a slam dunk in this tournament. He's probably going to take a lot of ownership in tier 6, but yeah, I mean, this is just like a Zach Johnson course all over, and he's an RSM guy, and he played well here and all that. But I think tier 2 is probably the one that's the toughest to pick out. I already said you're loaded up on guys in the 9K range. Tom Hoagie, Denny McCarthy, Taylor Montgomery's been playing great. Jason Day getting a lot of love this week. Where does that come from? I know we joked last week we can't bet on this guy, but why do we keep hammering on him?
I don't know. I don't know where I don't know where he's been for the last 5 years. I don't know, why he's getting so much love this week. And I would definitely shy away from that.
Yeah, I need to on the spot here probably look up how he finished, because he was fairly highly modeled last week, and that's just not somewhere I'm going these days. But I don't know. I still lean model tells me Tom Hoagie in tier 2. I also really like Denny McCarthy just on the Bermuda surface. It's probably the decision I'm making.
He's also your UVA guy, so
he is my UVA guy. But he has made a name for himself the last 12 months. All right. So you ready for the name game?
I'm ready.
All right. Quick recap on last week. Jordan gave us the Ben Ryan Taylor show. I'm going to keep results pending because I actually think it's going to be close. Kyle insists that we have a salary adjustment for certain instances of the game. Jordan had all 3 of his guys make the cut: Ben Griffin, Ryan Armour, Taylor Pendrith. But I had Ben Taylor at $6,500 plus Taylor Montgomery, who did make the cut. So I'm thinking that salary adjustment might help. Kyle, by the way, had picked 3 players that all missed the cut. So he will have name game duties when he returns to the show. So here's what we get this week. I'm pretty proud of this one. I think this is funny. So we've been talking a lot about Georgia, talking a lot about Bulldogs. This title of this game is, did you go to Georgia? Because I went to Georgia. And the deal is, it's going to be one guy that actually played for the University of Georgia, and then one guy that with a name that sounds like a guy that probably would play for the University of Georgia.
Did Patrick Reed play for Georgia? True or false?
You texted me this.
Play could be loosely used too.
I said false. I said he played for Augusta State.
Everybody knows that he transferred after welcome week.
I think he was asked to transfer after welcome week.
I don't even know if he got a UGA bag.
Maybe was it you and I texting about this, or was I texting with Kyle about this?
Yeah, maybe it
was you and me? Okay. Yeah, he was dismissed from the team. Surprise. Surprise. All right, so here you go.
You didn't believe me that it was because of cheating.
And, I'm sure it was.
Well, what else could it be?
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on this. It obviously was. So here we go. So did you go to Georgia? Because I went to Georgia. There will be 4 teams, and Kevin, you're going to get to pick for the listeners. And I'm also going to let you pick first. And then I'll go second, and then we'll decide which teams Jordan and Kyle get. So the first team is Harris English, Bulldog, 7,700 this week. He is paired up with, I wrote it as William Gordon III, although he goes by Will Gordon. William Gordon III, who did not play for Georgia, but he played for Davidson. He, however, is a Sea Island guy. I don't know if you knew that. He's pretty young. But 7,700, so that's a total of 15,400 on that team. Next, Brendan Todd, 8,000 this week, Georgia alum, paired with Hayden Buckley, who actually went to Missouri, didn't go to Georgia. They're 15,400 as well. Chris Kirk, RSM guy, right? Plus, plus Georgia alum, playing with Davis Riley, who actually went to Alabama, but Davis is a solid Georgia name. And then we have Grayson Sigg, and playing with Wyndham Clark. Wyndham, actually a West Coast guy, went to Oregon. Surprise. So those are the 4 teams. I honestly, I wrote this up without looking up all of these, and I put in Davis Thompson as one of the sounds like he went to Georgia, but probably didn't. Turns out he went to Georgia.
Yeah, that fits.
I also was gonna joke around and throw Sepp Straka in here, who doesn't sound like he went to Georgia, but did. So there you go. There's your 4 teams. Who do you got? Who are you taking for the listeners? A lot riding on this.
Oof. I think I'm gonna go. It's not really home cooking, but home cooking with Chris Kirk and Davis Riley. So Kirk being Team RSM guy. So I'll stay a little bit loyal there, but I'm gonna go with Kirk and Riley.
All right. Davis Riley been mostly terrible lately, so the listeners hopefully appreciate.
I mean, so has Alabama.
Oh God, they have.
So.
They have. I am gonna take. God, this is a disaster. I'm gonna take Harris English and Will Gordon because I think Will Gordon is gonna be the best player of the group here, and that's what I am riding on. So I am taking Harris English and Will Gordon. What do you think? I think Jordan's a big Grayson Sigg guy, so I think
that's
Grayson Sigg also.
I think he would ride Sigg all season long. Just lock him in the lineup.
That I did the same thing with Davis Thompson as Davis Thompson. I was like, Grayson Sigg, that's got to be a guy that went to Georgia. And then I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Well, I mean the field's full of them this week.
It is. And like you said, like the guys that actually are going to be attracted to this event either live or have a connection to St. Simon's, or they went to Georgia, or they're from Georgia and they want to get to that hometown event. So
yeah, I bet is Georgia at home this week,
yeah, but that might be a reason.
But maybe they're playing. I'm gonna play a couple rounds, miss the cut.
Yeah, that's why you can't. That's why you used to not be able to play DJ when he's playing in South Carolina, because that was always the risk, because he just wanted to go on a bender.
They're in Kentucky, so can't be the reason.
All right. Well, anything else on the RSM Classic? I mean, you're going to be there, so I'd ask to share some content, some nuggets that we can have next week in our recap. What are you looking for? What do you like? What's your plan? You said you're going to follow a couple of groups. Like, you're going to go out early. Like, what's
Probably not going to go out early. Couple days away from the kids. Probably going to take it slow in the mornings, but yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to walk the course, check it out a little bit more in detail. Probably both of them. Yeah.
Are they close by? Like, can you walk between them with your ticket, or do you have to bus or something?
No, they are same grounds.
Okay.
Just like across like the street, but like the entryway. Yeah, so like the first 2 times we went, that was more like fun. Not, wife wasn't really having a lot of like work responsibilities just based on the role. Now she will be working like, 14-hour days at the tournament. So for me, it's going to be kind of go do what I want.
You're not bringing your clubs.
I need to check that out. There's potential. There's some like wait lists. There's probably some openings at other courses on the island. That's not what I want to do though. I want, the marquee setup would be playing what they call the Am on Monday. So playing Seaside as it's set up for a PGA Tour tournament.
Okay.
Or I think you can play Plantation on like Saturday morning or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see if it's worth it. If I actually
So
have a
you
shot
don't.
to like play.
So when like Chris Kirk misses the cut, he doesn't then hang around and just play with people on the weekend then?
He might hang around, but yeah,
He's
he's
not
probably
getting
not
back out of
playing.
the
He
okay.
might, I mean, he might head over to Lexington, catch
That's, I
dogs.
mean, Sergio would, if Sergio was
Yeah, well,
Sergio did actually.
he
So
did, he literally flew like 4,000 miles around the globe to catch a Longhorns game.
uh
So,
all right. Well,
um,
I don't. Let's just wrap it up there. I think this was a good episode. I'm excited to see what you see and look forward to the pictures. If there is a sweet RSM hat, I know that I'm currently outfitted in gear that you and your wife bring back. So I'm
yeah,
looking forward to that.
yeah, I'll do some damage in the merch tent for sure.
All right. Well, that's it for our show this week. You can find our content on our YouTube channel, Reading the Green, on our Twitter feed at RTG Podcast DFS, any of the major podcast platforms. We'll be back in a week to talk about the RSM Classic. And then it's waiting till the Hero Challenge. So we might have some fun stuff. Kevin, the last thing I'll ask you is if you got a weird beer idea, that will happen sometime before the end of the year. And so keep that in mind. All right.
Yeah.
See ya.